It's not often I'm completely wrong about a hero. Yeah, even in the past with different cycles with heroes, maybe I didn't understand fully how the hero worked, but I could see it getting there. For example, Spider is famous with this. Spider is a hero that when she came out, or before she came out with the preview video, I was like, I don't fully understand how a 3 card hand size is going to work with all these resource generators. Like, I don't really get how it's going to work. But if it does, I can see how her kit as a whole works together and how strong it could be. This is kind of the same exact thing that happened to X-23, except I thought I understood what was going on and it just wasn't good, right? I understood what they were trying to do with her, and I didn't think it was gonna be strong enough. I thought there was gonna be too many moving pieces, and it turns out I was wrong about, I would say, most of it. Not all of it, but most of it. So today we're gonna be doing our X-23 review. I gotta do two things before we do this though. Two disclaimers. The number one disclaimer is that most important thing is this is just my opinion, right? If I hate X-23 and you love her, or I love her and you hate her, like that's not to, take down your opinion of her or whatever else. Like it's fine. We can all have different opinions about things. So don't, just because it's my opinion and I may or may not like a hero and you are the opposite, like it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We all don't have to like the same exact thing. So that's number one. Number two, I'm gonna start putting this on all my review videos because a lot of people ask like why I like heroes versus why I don't. And there's three main reasons, or three main things I look into a hero. One, how fun they are. And this is very, very subjective, but it's the most important thing to me. If a hero is great at everything else, but I'm not having fun playing that hero, it doesn't matter, right? If I'm not having fun, there's no reason to play the hero. It's as simple as that. It's a very subjective thing, and I'll try to explain why I like or I don't like a hero, but that's the most important thing, bar none. Past that, it's kind of what their hook is, what their interesting mechanic is, and how either unique it is or how well implemented it is, or different or whatever else. And I try to judge it within its time frame as well. So that's the number two thing. The number three thing to me is how well it works with the different aspects. There's a lot of heroes out there that I like Domino, but it doesn't matter what aspect you really put her in because the basic cards and her cards are so strong that that's what you're really trying to focus on. So that matters the third most, probably, and probably the least amount. And then theme is like a tiebreaker. It kind of matters, but not really. So anyway, that's my disclaimer. We can get more into that later. But before we start the actual review, let's drop down the table and actually look at X-23's cards. All right, so here they all are laid out. Let's start with her alter ego hero card. 6 recovery, 6 hand size, 10 hit points. Put X-23's claws into play. Cool. Either shuffle I'm sorry. Shuffle either the Honey Badger ally or the Sisterly Bond event from your discard pile into your deck. Draw 1 card. This is actually a really nice card if you get an opening hand, especially like Sisterly Bond, right? Which we'll get into in a second, which is this card up here. It's kind of nice if you get that right away because you can just like throw it in the deck and then draw a card in the beginning and really start with a 7 hand size. It's kind of cool when that works out. Honey Badger though, generally I want to play, but it's a pretty interesting action. It does lead down to like you wanting to flip down with Laura a fair amount, which we'll get into more in a bit. But yeah, it's a cool little action thing. I do like it. So X-23 is a 2/1/2 stat line, a little bit weaker than most, but that's okay. 5 hand size, 10 hit points. Response, living weapon. After X-23 takes any amount of damage, ready X-23 limit once per phase. So you could do this for offense and defense, which is really cool. That she works both ways. Allows her to get like some kind of easy defense in there, which is really nice. So like that build, I like the hero card. I like the response action. It's pretty cool. All right, so then the setup card is the permanent claws. It's null cost, exhaust X-23's claws, take 2 damage. X-23 gets +2 attack for the end of the round. And this was a part of where I started getting worried that, okay, to get her up to just 3 attack, I got to take 2 damage, which is a fifth of my life. Like, how are we going to combat that, right? What are we going to do to get around that? And there are some cards that she has to deal with that, which is really nice. But that was one of my big worries is like, okay, we're going to be leaning into doing all this damage, but we're going to be taking all this damage at the same time. Like, how is that going to work? So, all right, we got to talk about Honey Badger because this is the other part. Well, I wasn't sure how this would work. 2 cost ally, 1/1/2 stat line, very weak. After Honey Badger takes any amount of damage, ready X-23. Now, really quick, it is important to note that this is a response. So if she takes the final consequential damage, like she has 1 damage on her and then she attacks and takes consequential damage, you do not get to do the response, right? The damage happens first, then she gets defeated, and then you don't get to respond because she's no longer there. Just important rules note for people to know. So Honey Badger, when I saw this, was like, okay, is there ways to heal her up? You kind of have to Voltron her. You have to do other things to get like the ready system really going. And that was one of my big worries in the beginning is how is that all going to play out? Now, I will say there's a lot of games I play now where actually Honey Badger, you don't really need. It's nice when you get her out and it's nice when you get that extra ready, but it's not super necessary. But it is nice to like not completely Voltron her out, but get like a training upgrade out there onto her. Definitely does help, and it's worth throwing it into whatever deck you're doing just to give her like a little bit more life. So then we have Claw Mastery. There's 3 of these cards. It's a 1-cost event. Max 1 per round. Until the end of the round, which is important, X-23 gets +2 attack, and her attacks gain overkill while Honey Badger is in play. Now, the reason this is important is because this opens her up in protection. So if you want to do something like a counter punch or something like that, where you're going to hit back in protection, the claws +2 attack lasts during the protection phase as well, which is kind of really cool of how she works. And this is the fun part with her, is that it opens up not just the aggression pathway with her, but now protection, right? Because you can focus on like a defensive strategy where you hit back when you defend, with cards like Claw Mastery. So now you're defending for 2, and if you get like Retaliate or whatever, you get to hit back, but also a Claw Mastery and Counter Punch. Like, you could stack that stuff, right? You can see how that would work with protection. So that's been really cool to mess around with. I'm happy they did it until the end of the round, not the phase, which is cool. Animal Instinct is one of the most interesting cards I think out there. So when X-23 makes a basic thwart, she gets plus thwart for this thwart, where X is equal to her attack. Now, when I first saw this, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but what you can do with this card essentially is you can thwart 2, right? Clear thwart 2. Use the claws to take 2 damage and ready yourself up, and then thwart again with Animal Instinct. So now you're thwarting for 5. So it's a 0 for 5 card essentially, and you already thwarted 2. So really, you're thwarting 7 total. This is one of the things where I love playing Justice. I'm a big Justice player, but you don't really need to play Justice with her, right? Because Animal Instinct can clear out large amounts of threat, and then you use allies or whatever else to kind of like supplement that. Like, you can use allies from any aspect, it doesn't matter which, to kind of supplement that, which has been really nice. It's a really interesting card when you really lean into it. If you had Claw Master as well, I probably wouldn't do it this way, but if you need to clear like 7 out or whatever, like, you could do that, right? 7 and then another 2 for 9. Like, you clear a lot. It's kind of insane how it works. It's a really cool card. So on the surface, it doesn't look great, but you have to mix and match it with her claws, and it's actually really, really strong. So Regenerative Longevity, I think this was one of the cards they did not reveal, if I remember correctly. This is a monster card for her because the 1-cost event, it's a superpower, which can be huge too if you want to do a Death Focus or whatever. You probably don't, but in case you really want to. Heal a total of 4 damage from your identity and Honey Badger. So if you want to split this up with Honey Badger, if she's Voltroned out a little bit, you could save some of her life, and you can split it however you want, which is the really nice part. But it's such a huge way to heal. 1 for 4, but it does get slightly better than that with one of our upgrades, which we'll get into in a second. I'm actually pain tolerance here, but we'll get into that in a second. But it can be a 1 for 5 card, which healing half your life on your hero side, monster, like absolutely monster card. So it works really well. Huge fan of it. So that's a really good card for a kit that I don't think we knew about, and kind of changed a lot of things for her, I think. So then we have Sisterly Bond, a 0-cost event. When Honey Badger thwarts or attacks, add X-23's matching power to Honey Badger's power for this use. So again, if you're jacked up on, let's say, attack of 1, 3, 4, 5, right? And now you can add that to Honey Badger, where Honey Badger can swing 6. That's crazy, right? That's really good. And then Honey Badger is going to ready you up, so you swing another 5. So we're already looking at 11 damage right there. That's crazy, right? So that's really strong. Can be really good. I wish there was more of those cards. I wish we got to play around with it more, but I get why they did it the way that they did. But yeah, it's a really strong card, really good. When you get it to work, it's a lot of fun, but a lot of my games, I just didn't get Sisterly Bond to work kind of as much as I hoped to, unfortunately. But it's still a solid card. Sisterhood, 2-cost support. Exhaust Sisterhood. Discard an X-23 card from your hand. Search your deck and discard pile for Honey Badger and add her to your hand. This is nice because it's not alter ego action. It's just an action in general, so you can do it either side. So again, this is an easy way to get Honey Badger back. Sisterhood, if you're going with more of a Voltron build and want to do more with Honey Badger and lean into that, you got to get Sisterhood out right away. It's not necessary, right? You can play without it for a while, but it definitely does help. Now, her upgrades are some of the most interesting upgrades, because a lot of upgrades recently have been like, +1 attack, +1 defense, like does a little bit. Hers don't really do that as much, which is kind of crazy. So she has 2 puncture wounds. Let's start with those. The zero cost upgrade, and attached to an enemy that X-23 or Honey Badger attack this turn, attached enemy gets -1 attack. After the player phase begins, discard this card and deal 3 damage to the attached enemy. That's really nice, right? You just dealing 3 damage. They were attacking for a little bit less. Really strong card. If you get to use it and get to put it out there, I really like that card a lot. Then we have Grim Resolve is a 1 cost upgrade. Exhaust this card, take 1 damage. Now, this can trigger your ready up, which is really nice, and generate a wild resource, which is good for resource generation. The 1 damage seems bad, but if you're not using X-23's claws all the time, it's kind of nice to like be able to easily ready yourself up. So, for example, there are times I've defended twice with X-23, and I've had to use Grim Resolve to like ready myself up to get myself back up to whatever, and then not use the claws because I didn't have a lot of life or whatever, right? It allows you to play around with it a little bit more, which is kind of nice. Adamantium Lacing. She gets 2 more hit points, 1 cost upgrade, and she gains Retaliate, and her basic attacks gain Piercing. Piercing's always really nice to have. Big fan of that. The big thing there is Retaliate, because really you're going to end up defending with her probably no matter what aspect you play, because defending for 2 is nice. It's not a crazy amount, but it's a nice amount where, okay, even if I take 1 or 2 damage, it's going to be okay, because now I'm going to ready myself up so I can, go for the next round or whatever. And then I'm now retaliating as well to ping off the tough or whatever else. So it's a really nice card. Really like that card. Solid upgrade. And then her other upgrade, or 2 cost upgrade, is a little more expensive. Pain Tolerance. After you play an X-23 card, including this one, heal 1 damage from your identity. This is a monster card, because now when you're getting more of her events out there, you're able to heal her up more frequently. And this is where Regenerative Longevity now becomes a 1 for 5 card if we have Pain Tolerance out there, right? So you have Pain Tolerance. This is now 1 for 5 heal, but you're doing anything else and you're healing 1, which makes it a lot easier to do things like, Grim Resolve, when you're taking a damage. Like, it doesn't matter as much because I'm probably spending that resource to play one of her cards in. So it's definitely a solid kit. It's definitely interesting. Oh, really quick, we'll go through her bad cards. So Self-Isolation. Search your hand, deck, discard pile in that play area for Honey Badger and place her face down on this obligation. If you cannot, discard this card and deal yourself 1 face down encounter card. After you make a basic recovery, discard this obligation and Honey Badger. This isn't the worst obligation unless you're doing a Voltron build on X-23, then it's pretty bad. But like we said, you don't really need X-23, or I'm sorry, you really don't need Honey Badger as much unless your build is entirely built off of that. So it's kind of nice, actually. It's not a terrible obligation. So then for bad cards, we have Lady Deathstrike. 2/2/5 stat line. When defeated, the player who defeated this minion discards the top card in the encounter deck and takes 1 indirect damage for each boost icon. That's not ideal, but sure, that's a thing. This one kind of stinks. 6 damage. Each enemy gains Retaliate 1 in the name of, not 6 damage, 6 threat, sorry. Each enemy gains Retaliate 1. This is bad because, again, we're not doing massive swinging damage. So a lot of X-23 is doing small amounts of damage. So this really just kind of like hits you constantly over and over, which stinks. Don't love it. So that can be a little rough. But you can, with Animal Instinct, clear it out really fast if you have it set up properly. Hack and Slash. When revealed, discard 1 random card from your hand and take damage equal to the number of printed resources on it. That's not the worst card in the world, but it's not great, for sure. Attach to Lady Deathstrike. If you cannot discard cards on top of the encounter deck until a minion is discarded, put that minion into play, engage you, and attach this card to it. When attached minion would be discarded, shuffle it into the encounter deck. Again, can be really bad. It depends how big the encounter deck is, but for me, there's only like 2 cards left, so I'm going to get it again. And when your turn ends, discard this card and take 4 damage. Stinks, but at least you can prepare for it. So it's a bad card. I feel like overall her nemesis and obligation aren't too bad. I feel like they're okay to deal with overall. Again, not great, but not awful. So that's her kit. That's what she's got going on. So let's talk a bit about X-23. All right, so the most important thing with her is she fun, right? Is she fun? Am I having fun when I'm playing X-23? And the short answer is yes. Yes, I do enjoy her. She is a lot of fun to play. There's more thinking and more thinking and a lot of movement going on without being like cumbersome, right? There's times when there's like a lot of pieces moving around where it's just like, okay, this is my big critique with Psylocke, is that there's just a lot of weird things going on, but not much is going on. Like, I'm doing a lot of work for the same exact thing. Where this, it feels like I'm doing work, but it's for different things. Like either it's animal instinct or something with claw mastery, or trying to work with honey badger, or working with the upgrades and timing them out right. And okay, when do we want to time the readies and what's the most effective use of things? It's cool. There's a thought process behind it, and I really enjoy it. So I have fun playing X-23 for sure. She is much better than I thought she was going to be. Absolute, hands down, absolute. As far as like her gimmick, right? The ready up gimmick and the using life as a resource. Now, we've seen both of these already, right? Quicksilver is the obvious example of the ready up gimmick. Using life as a resource is the obvious example with Wolverine. Now, this isn't a bad thing, right? This isn't a bad thing. I feel like with the ready up side of things, it's being like Quicksilver, but a little bit stronger and a little bit more difficult to use the ready up, right? Instead of just readying up, basically, except for using a power, like you have to take damage, right? So it's tying in those two things, which is cool and it's fine. I still don't love it. Like it's still not like my favorite thing in the world of using life as a resource, readying up stuff. Like again, it's strong, it's good. I don't want to make it seem like it's weak and bad or anything like that. It's just one of those things where like, okay, like I feel like we've seen this. This is implemented a bit better, which is nice. It's sorry about the jump cut there. OBS froze. So one of the things is that, again, we've seen this mechanic with Quicksilver. We've seen this mechanic with Wolverine. They're implementing it a little bit different, and it's a little more interesting in the way that it works. It's fun in the way that it works. I've seen it a little bit, right? And I don't know. It's not a mechanic that like blows me away, like readying up and using life as a resource. Like it just isn't like wow, right? That's not a bad thing. It's just a thing to note, right? She feels like a stronger Quicksilver who is a little bit harder to ready up. And she feels like Wolverine in the sense of using health as a resource, but not like as much as Wolverine, where Wolverine heals back up. It's a little bit harder to get her life as a resource, or a little bit harder to get her life back up. Now, she has ways to make it crazy high, but so does Wolverine, right? And he innately just heals too, which is really nice. So that's a little like not great for me. Again, I don't love it, but it's not terrible by any means. Like it's not terrible. The other thing with working in each aspect, I think she does a really good job of feeling unique in each aspect. Like when I play her aggression, it's a very different set of how I play her versus protection, right? Protection does feel more defensive based. I'm gonna take some damage, and I want to take some damage so I can ready her up, but then we can build out to like doing more retaliate and different things like that, and pinging damage back and all that fun stuff. And I can still be aggressive, but like either I can split in half where okay, I'm focusing claw mastery and some attacks on the protection, like with protection, doing some on like the offensive side, but I can also make it all defensive side stuff too. It's kind of unique in how you can do it with her, so it's really nice. Aggression, it's really good. Justice is okay. Justice helps out a little bit more. So I was using Justice as like more of a like a stun lock, confuse lock type of build, so that she can flip down, which obviously can't do with stalwart enemies. But for the most part, that's kind of what I was using Justice for. And leadership is leadership, just Voltron build, Honey Badger out. So yeah. So as far as that is good, as theme wise, like I guess it's good. I don't know X-23 super well in the comics or anything, but for what they're trying to do, like it feels good and it feels strong. So, where is she gonna rank when we do our ranking videos? Probably later this month. She's gonna be in the top half for sure. I mean, she is fun. She's enjoyable. I enjoy playing her a lot more so than I thought I was going to, for sure. So I think she'll be up there. I don't think she's gonna be a top 10 hero for me. There's just not. I just the mechanics are fine, right? They're fine. That's the best way to explain it. Like they're not anything that like feels amazing or really great. Yes, when you do the big swing turns, like it's cool and whatnot, but it just I don't know. It's not my I guess it's just not my favorite mechanic overall. Readying up and using life as a resource, maybe. I don't know. Or at least the reading out portion of it. But she's fun, right? She's a lot of fun. I definitely do enjoy her. I'm excited to play more games with her. And the big thing is I was really wrong. I was really wrong about her. She's much better than I thought she was going to be. So anyway, that's pretty much my review of X-23. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, what you think about her, what you like about her, what you don't like about her, all that fun stuff. And yeah, if you made this fun video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps the channel. See you all next time.